What if the sacred words of the Bible are more than spiritual guidance? Could they be intricate algorithms, cosmic code that shape the universe's very fabric?
Hey everyone, and welcome. So what if I told you that a single verse from the Bible wasn't just a metaphor, but an actual mathematical formula? A formula that, according to some pretty incredible documents we're going to look at today, could map out the entire history of our universe. I know, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but the claim here is that the proof is in the numbers. Let's dive in and see what this is all about.
So let's just frame this up, right? This is the core idea we are wrestling with today. Could a familiar piece of scripture be more than just, well, beautiful prose? The source material we're digging into makes a really bold claim, that it's a literal mathematical key, an algorithm that can actually chart the entire 13.8 billion year history of everything.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We'll start with the prophetic algorithm itself. Then we'll get into the 33 geological alignments it supposedly predicts. After that, we'll look at the universal clock tick that's said to power the whole thing, check out the absolutely wild statistical claims of a 115 sigma anomaly, and finally, wrap up with the ultimate conclusion presented, the idea of a creator's signature. Okay, first up, a prophetic algorithm. Where does an idea this big even come from? Well, according to the documents, this wasn't some slow, gradual discovery. Nope, it all apparently began in a single powerful moment, what the author calls a vision. Everything, and I mean everything, hangs on this one line. For centuries, people have read this as poetry, a way of saying God is outside of time. But this model asks a pretty radical question. What if it's not a metaphor at all? What if it's a literal conversion rate? A precise mathematical formula for translating divine time into our time. And this is where it gets really wild. That one principle becomes the engine for a full-on cosmic calendar. The model takes important numbers from all these ancient sources, and we're not just talking the Bible, but things like the Mayan calendar too. And it uses that day for 1,000 years conversion rate to map them right onto the timeline of the universe. The origin story here is shockingly specific. The documents claim the whole framework was revealed in a single vision on a very particular future date, October 17, 2025. And get this, the entire initial model was supposedly built from that vision in just 6 hours. Okay, so we've got the theory. Now let's talk about the proof. This is where the model tries to build a bridge between these ancient texts and modern, hard science, making claims that are, at least in theory, testable. So here's the absolute heart of the claim. The model takes 33 specific numbers from these old pre-scientific sources. When you plug those numbers into the Lord's calendar, they supposedly nail 33 of the most important events in the history of the cosmos, and with an average accuracy of over 99%. The argument here is simple. That is statistically impossible to be just a coincidence. And just look at the sheer scale we're talking about here. This isn't about predicting a few things in one little historical period. The claims on this timeline stretch all the way from the Big Bang itself, nearly 14 billion years ago, through the appearance of the very first life, all the way to the dawn of our own human ancestors. The scope is just staggering. Let's zoom in on the kind of precision that's being claimed. For the Big Bang, the calendar's output is only off by 1.7% from the current scientific date. For the KPG extinction, yep, that's when the dinosaurs got wiped out, it's even closer, just 1.49%. And for the dawn of hominins, the model claims a perfect match, a 0% error. When you're dealing with billions of years, error margins that small are, according to the source, pretty extraordinary. So, the big question is, how on earth would a calendar like this even work? What's the engine under the hood? Well, according to the source material, finding those 33 alignments wasn't the end of the story. It was just the first clue. It allowed the author to work backwards, to kind of reverse engineer the calendar's fundamental mechanism.
The process is laid out like this. First, you spot the anomaly, those 33 incredibly accurate hits. Second, you deconstruct it, boiling the entire calendar system down to one core algebraic equation. And the result of that? Step 3. The discovery of what the author calls a universal fractal clock, a basic rhythm that supposedly governs time itself. And it all apparently comes down to this one number, a universal master tick that lasts just a little over 1/3 of a second. The claim is that this tiny, tiny fraction of time is the fundamental heartbeat of the entire cosmic system.
Now, the source argues this number isn't just plucked out of thin air. It's claimed this master tick shows up in 3 completely different places. First, physically, it's related to the time it takes light to cross a specific part of our asteroid belt. Second, mathematically, it's supposedly hiding deep in the decimal places of our 24-hour day. And third, and this is a big one, biologically, its frequency is claimed to resonate with quantum processes that have been measured in the human brain. It's a huge claim, trying to link cosmology, math, and consciousness all together.
The internal math of this model also generates what the documents call a 666 resonance. Now, let's just put aside the cultural baggage of that number for a second. The claim here is purely mathematical. It's presented as a natural harmonic that just emerges from the universal ticks calculations, and it supposedly acts as a key that helps lock the whole system together, linking that master tick back to those 33 geological hits.
And that brings us to what might just be the most mind-bending claim of them all. The author doesn't just show you the alignments, they give you a statistical verdict on the odds of it all being a random fluke.
You know, the source material doesn't dodge the central philosophical problem here. It poses this question, which is a real paradox. How can you use the tools of science to prove something that might, by its very nature, be outside of science? And the answer it proposes is this. You can't measure the cause, but you can measure the effect. And the effect, they argue, shows up in the statistics in a way that's just too massive to ignore.
So, to really get the scale of what's being claimed, we need to talk about sigma. In science, sigma is basically your confidence level. A 3 sigma result is good evidence, but for a really huge discovery, like finding the Higgs boson, you need 5 sigma. That's the gold standard. It means the odds of you being wrong are about 1 in 3.5 million. It's the level of certainty you need before you can rewrite the textbooks.
Okay, this number you're looking at is the calculated probability of those 33 alignments happening just by random chance. That's a decimal point followed by 141 zeros before you get to 139. It's a number so close to zero, it's basically impossible to wrap your head around. To put that in perspective, our universe has been around for about 13.8 billion years. This number is unbelievably, incomprehensibly smaller than any timescale we can imagine. The author pretty much says impossible is the only word for it.
And that impossibly small number translates to a statistical significance of 115 sigma. Let's just sit with that for a second. Remember, the gold standard for a revolutionary scientific discovery is 5 sigma. This isn't 6 sigma. It's not 10 sigma. It's 115. It's a level of certainty that is so far off the charts there isn't really a word for it in the normal scientific conversation.
This chart from the source is meant to put that 115 sigma claim into some kind of context. It shows the statistical confidence behind some of the cornerstones of modern science, like general relativity and the structure of DNA, and then it puts the Lord's calendar right next to them. The difference in scale here is, to put it lightly, just absolutely staggering.
So, after all that, the theory, the mechanism, and what's presented as overwhelming statistical proof, we get to the final section, the conclusion. Given all these claims, the author argues that there's really only one explanation left on the table. This isn't random. It's a deliberate message, a signature.
The final argument here is that this is a fingerprint in time. The author suggests the entire mathematical system is deliberately centered on the person of Jesus Christ, and that it basically decodes the biblical book of life. In this view, it's the ultimate unifier, turning ancient scripture into a mathematical proof and merging science and faith into one single story. So, when all is said and done, the source material makes its case and leaves us right here with this question. Are we looking at a revolutionary discovery that changes our understanding of absolutely everything? Is it a clever, unfalsifiable theory, a perfect puzzle of numbers you can't disprove? Or is it simply the most extreme, the most profound statistical anomaly ever found? Whatever the answer is, it definitely gives you something to think about.